The Spy Who Fooled Hitler, the insane true story of Juan Pujol García, a man who tricked the Nazis, played both sides, and helped win World War II without ever firing a gun. Imagine lying to Hitler and getting away with it. No guns, no armies, just a passport, a pen, and the biggest bluff in modern history. This is not fiction. This is the story of Juan Pujol García, the double agent who tricked the Nazis so hard they gave him a medal for it, and he did it all without ever being caught. This is Utak Diaries, where truth is stranger than every spy movie you've ever watched. Subscribe now, because this isn't James Bond. This is the real thing. In the summer of 1944, as Allied forces prepared for the most crucial military operation in human history, the fate of D-Day hung in the balance. The success of Operation Overlord depended not just on the courage of soldiers storming the beaches of Normandy, but on a single man sitting in a London apartment, crafting elaborate lies that would reach the highest echelons of Nazi Germany. That man was Juan Pujol García, and his weapon of choice wasn't a rifle or a bomb. It was deception so masterful that it would earn him decorations from both the British and the Germans, making him perhaps the only person in history to receive honors from both sides of World War II. Juan Pujol García didn't start the war as a spy. In fact, he didn't start it as anything particularly remarkable at all. Born in Barcelona in 1912, García was an ordinary Spanish citizen who found himself caught in the crossfire of his country's brutal civil war. But what made García extraordinary wasn't his background. It was his absolute hatred of fascism and his burning desire to do something about it, even if he had to lie his way into the fight. When World War II erupted across Europe, García watched in horror as Nazi Germany steamrolled across the continent. Spain, under Franco's dictatorship, remained officially neutral, but García knew where his loyalties lay. He wanted to fight against the Nazis. But there was one problem. Nobody wanted him. García approached the British embassy in Madrid, offering his services as a spy. They turned him down. He tried again. Another rejection. The British intelligence services, it seemed, had no use for an unknown Spanish businessman with no experience in But García was nothing if not persistent, and he had an idea that was either brilliant or completely insane. If the British wouldn't recruit him as a spy, he would become a spy anyway, by convincing the Germans to recruit him first. In one of the most audacious moves in intelligence history, García walked into the German embassy in Madrid and offered to spy for the Nazis against Britain. The Germans, always eager for intelligence on their enemies, welcomed him with open arms. What happened next was a masterclass in deception that would make even the most seasoned con artists weep with admiration. García, now operating under the codey name Arabelle, began feeding the Germans intelligence about Britain. There was just one small problem. García had never actually been to Britain. He was sitting in Lisbon, Portugal, making up everything he sent to his German handlers, using nothing more than a tourist guidebook, a map of Britain, and an impressive imagination. García began crafting detailed reports about British military installations, troop movements, and strategic plans. The intelligence García provided was completely fabricated, but it was so convincing that the Germans not only believed it, they paid him handsomely for it. García created an entire network of fictional sub-agents across Britain, each with their own backstory, personality, and area of expertise. There was the Venezuelan student in Glasgow, the Welsh fascist in Swansea, and the disgruntled British soldier willing to sell secrets for money. None of these people existed, but García brought them to life with such detail that the Germans treated them as real assets. The beauty of García's deception lay not just in its audacity, but in its strategic brilliance. While feeding the Germans false information, he was simultaneously proving his value to the British. Every piece of fake intelligence he sent to Berlin eventually made its way back to British intelligence through their own sources, and they began to realize that someone was playing an extraordinary game. When the British finally tracked down the source of these fabricated reports, they were amazed to discover Garcia's one-man operation. In 1942, the British finally brought Garcia to London, where he was given the codey name Garbo, a reference to the famous actress Greta Garbo and her ability to play any role convincingly. Under British control, Garcia's operation expanded dramatically. What had started as a solo act became a sophisticated, double-agent network that would ultimately involve 27 fictional each carefully crafted to serve specific strategic purposes. The British intelligence services, initially skeptical of Garcia's amateur operation, quickly realized they had stumbled upon something extraordinary. Garcia wasn't just feeding false information to the Germans, he was actively shaping their understanding of British capabilities and intentions. Every report he sent was carefully crafted to support broader Allied strategic objectives, and the Germans' trust in their star agent Arabelle grew stronger with each passing month. As 1944 approached and the Allies prepared for D-Day, Garcia's role became absolutely critical. The success of Operation Overlord depended on convincing the Germans that the main Allied invasion would come at Pas-de-Calais. This massive deception operation, known as Operation Fortitude, involved fake armies, dummy equipment, and elaborate radio traffic designed to mislead German intelligence. But at the heart of it all was Garcia, whose fictional network of agents provided the Germans with seemingly credible intelligence that supported the deception. In the weeks leading up to D-Day, Garcia's reports painted a picture of massive Allied preparations for an invasion at Pas-de-Calais. His fictional agents reported seeing tank divisions, observing landing craft, and overhearing conversations about the coming assault on the French coast. All of it carefully orchestrated lies designed to keep German reserves away from Normandy. The Germans were so convinced by Garcia's intelligence that they actually reinforced their positions at Pas-de-Calais while leaving Normandy relatively lightly defended. But Garcia's greatest triumph came in the hours immediately following the D-Day landings, as Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944. Garcia sent an urgent message to his German handlers. The Normandy landings, he reported, were merely a diversion. The real invasion was still coming at Pas-de-Calais, and the Germans must not be fooled into moving their reserves to defend Normandy. This message, sent at the most critical moment of the war, convinced the German High Command to keep their strongest divisions away from the Normandy beaches, allowing the Allies to establish their crucial foothold in occupied Europe. The impact of Garcia's deception cannot be overstated. Military historians estimate that his false intelligence may have shortened World War II by months, saving countless lives on both sides. The German forces that remained at Pas-de-Calais, waiting for an invasion that would never come, could have turned the tide at Normandy if they had been deployed to defend the actual landing sites. Throughout this elaborate deception, Garcia maintained his cover so perfectly that the Germans never suspected they were being played. In fact, they were so impressed with Arabelle's intelligence that they awarded him the Iron Cross, one of Nazi Germany's highest military honors. Garcia never actually received the physical medal. It would have been rather difficult to explain to his British handlers, but the award stood as testament to just how completely he had fooled the Nazi intelligence apparatus. The British, meanwhile, were equally impressed with their Spanish double agent. Garcia was awarded the Member of the Order of the British Empire, making him one of the few people in history to receive military honors from both sides of the same conflict. But for Garcia, the medals were never the point. He had set out to fight fascism with the only weapons at his disposal: his wit, his imagination, and his unwavering commitment to the cause of freedom. After the war ended, Garcia's story remained classified for decades. The full extent of his contribution to the Allied victory wasn't revealed until the 1970s, when British intelligence finally declassified documents related to the DD deception operations. Even then, Garcia himself remained largely unknown to the public, living quietly in Venezuela, where he had moved after the war. What makes Garcia's story so remarkable isn't just the scale of his deception or its impact on the war, it's the fact that he accomplished it all through sheer force of personality and imagination. He had no formal training in espionage, no sophisticated equipment, and no support network when he began his operation. He was simply a man who saw evil in the world and decided to do something about it, armed with nothing more than a pen, some paper, and an unshakable belief the lies told in service of truth could change the course of history. Garcia's fictional spy network was so convincing that some German intelligence officers continued to believe in the existence of his subagents, even after the war ended. The characters he had created were so real in their minds that they couldn't accept that they had been fooled by a single man's imagination. In a way, Garcia had become the ultimate storyteller, crafting a narrative so compelling that even its intended victims couldn't bear to let it go. The legacy of Juan Pujol García extends far beyond his wartime achievements. His story serves as a reminder that in the darkest moments of history, ordinary people can accomplish extraordinary things through courage, creativity, and an unwavering commitment to their principles. Juan Pujol wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a spy. He was just a man who hated fascism and refused to stay quiet. He didn't pull a trigger. He didn't lead an army. But he helped win World War II. With a notebook, a fake name, and the greatest Khan of all time. This was Utak Diaries, where the heroes don't always wear uniforms. Like, subscribe, and share, because sometimes the most dangerous weapon is the truth in the wrong hands.